Okay, so the first concept that needs to be said, and this is really important, but when you're starting and you're pursuing something with a camera, all of this gear, it really does truly cost a lot of money. Yes, in the beginning, you can start out with a crappy camera, you can start out with a crappy lens, and the idea of using that gear to make some money and buy the next thing and keep repeating the process, that's very true, and that's exactly how I did it, and that's a great way to do it, and you should definitely do that if you're really committed to this idea. But just know that as you progress, the need for higher quality and better gear, better lenses, all of that stuff, you really do start to need it. And over the past 4 years of doing this full time, I've accumulated probably $40,000 worth of gear. It's no joke. It's a lot of money, and it's something that I want all of you to be truly aware of. If you're really truly passionate about pursuing this as a career, it really does cost a lot of money up front. So just know that, and if you're ready to commit to that, and you're like, yeah, I got the cash, I've been hustling, good for you, keep going, do it. But just know that, like, it's expensive. So let's move on to idea number 2, you guys. Okay, moving on to idea number 2, you guys, and this one's probably the most important and also simultaneously the most scary on the list. And I'm not here to scare you, but just something to know. At the end of the day, you are a photographer, cinematographer, you're photographing weddings, whatever it is you're doing. At the end of the day, you are selling a product and you are delivering a service, right? So at the end of the day, you don't really truly know where your next paycheck is coming from. And that can be extremely scary. You can go a 2-week span, a month span, 3 months, and you could be fully booked and you're making 10, 20 G's a month. Good for you, you're hustling, you're getting after it, amazing. But there can also come a time, and I can almost guarantee, and I can say with 100% confidence, there will come a time where you have a dry spell. You can go a week, 2 weeks, a month, 3 months where you don't have enough income. And when you have bills to pay, when you have rent to pay, when you have a car payment to make, it can get very scary. And from my own experience, I've been doing this 4 years, I've had dry spells. It is really scary. There are times where I've had sleepless nights and I have anxiety. Oh my God, how am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to feed my family? I have a kid on the way. Like, those things are really scary. And it's something that you need to be aware of before you jump into this full time. Taking pictures and yeah, I'm living my best life. And it's a business and you need to know that going in. So that's idea number 2. Let's move on to idea number 3. I'm going to speed this up a little bit. Okay, guys, let's move on to idea number 3. We're back at the studio. Let's go. Now, it's really important that when you're deciding to potentially pursue something with a camera as a career, it's really important that you know, and again, we're just having an open, honest conversation. It's really important that you understand that besides for the fact that you're the one taking the photos, you're the one editing the photos, you're the one delivering the product, you're also the guy behind the computer who's dealing with all of the back end stuff. So that means you're the one dealing with all of the back end stuff. So something like social media, right? You're the one who's, okay, we need to post consistently. We need to build the post, right? We need to build the captioning, right? You're the one who's dealing with building the website. You're the one who's dealing with if a client calls you and they're upset about something, you're that guy. So you have to make sure that even though you're a great photographer, ask yourself, are you a great business person? And that brings me on to the 4th idea, you guys, is that when you're running a business, right? So let's say, as an example, Bob slides into your DMs, be like, hey, Bob, I want to book you for my daughter's wedding. It's on, I don't know, August 26th, and I want to book you, right? So Bob's like, okay, what does it cost, right? So you send them the catalog. You have to be the one to send them the catalog. Bob's like, okay, looks great. I want to book you, right? Okay, Bob, here's the contract. You have to be the one to send them the contract. You have to be the one to send them the invoice. You have to be the one who makes sure that they pays the invoice, right? All of these things of the booking process is very important and very essential. And you have to have a very well-built CRM to keep track of it all. And that brings me to the sub point of this point, is that even though you have a CRM and maybe you're just keeping track in a notebook, you really want to have a CRM, something like, I personally use Notion. I have like a built out database that I use, but it's really important that this CRM is also repeatable, right? So Bob slides into your DMs, hey, I want to book you, right? So you put in Bob's information, maybe Bob takes a few days to book, and then Alex wants to book you, right? So you have to create a new category for Alex, right? Alex is like, hey, I'm ready to book. Okay, so Alex paid. You have to have a way to keep track of it all, but is also that is easily repeatable. And that brings me on to idea number 5, you guys. Okay, and the 5th and final idea is like this. At the end of the booking process, right? So you've booked the client, you've photographed the event, you've photographed the photo shoot, whatever it is, the back end, the last contact you have with your client it really requires a lot of consistency and a lot of work. And what I mean by that is you're responsible to deliver, let's say your photos in my scenario, you're responsible to deliver your photos with the same consistent editing style, right? So if a client is hiring me to photograph, let's say their wedding, right? They want to make sure that the style that they saw, let's say on Instagram or my website, a portfolio, they want to make sure that they're getting that same type of style from me. So I have to make sure that my editing is consistent, right? And also another thing to consider, if you're delivering physical products, let's say something like an album or photo prints, you have to make sure that you're delivering the same consistent level of quality to that client, right? If a client sees an album at their friend's house and they're like, whoa, this album's amazing, I want one like this, and then you go deliver them a piece of garbage when you're done, that's going to leave a really bad taste in their mouth, and that's a really horrible idea. So you really have to deliver consistency throughout the post-shoot process. And the final thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when you're dealing with a client, you can have a client who you book the client, you get the deposit, you photograph the event, everything is going smoothly. And then when you send the photos, right, you're like, hey, here's your gallery, all done. And you're like, that's it, I'm done. They can come back to you and be like, hey, actually, well, in photos number 35, 37, 38, and 42, I actually look like I have a double chin. Can you Photoshop that out? And you're like, wait a second, I didn't charge you for Photoshop work. Or, hey, actually, you sent it to me in black and white. Can you send it to me in color? Or, hey, can you send me the raws? Or, hey, this person didn't make it to the event. Can you Photoshop them in? And now you're left with a lot more work after the fact, which you didn't bill for. And you really have to be ready for those and have a system. And like we spoke about earlier, you really have to have a system as to how you're going to deal with these issues, right? Because you can't just say like, well, actually, you didn't pay for that, so sorry. You'd be like, hey, well, actually, Photoshop work costs an additional fee. If you'd like to do it, I'm happy to do that for you. Here are some examples of what it can look like. And you really have to have a consistent system and a system. You have to have a system for how you're going to deal with all of these issues. Just because you photographed an event and you went through the booking process and you edited the photos and you sent it to them, that doesn't mean you're done. And that's something that photographers, cinematographers, if you're starting out, it really is an overlooked element, and you really have to be ready for that. Okay, guys, that's it for me. I really hope you enjoyed. If you found any of this valuable, if you want to see more of these types of open and honest conversations about what it's really like to be a photographer, let me know down in the comments below. Hit the like button. Always huge help. Guys, I will see you in the next one. Peace out.